For those starting out in the hobby, a DCC system is usually the best option because it's the way the hobby's moving. However, that's not to say that there isn't a place for DC operation. And if you've been using DC for many years, then you might not be interested in changing over and learning a new system. Although in saying that, if you can understand the various workings of DC, then a DCC system will be a breeze to get your head around. In simple terms, DCC puts fixed electrical power on the track, whereas with standard DC controls, the throttle puts variable voltage on the track. With DCC, the decoder inside each locomotive receives track power and listens to commands sent out over the rails from the command station. At the end of the day, each system has different features and advantages over the other. With DCC, the power on the track is AC, not DC. There is full power on the track at all times while the system is turned on. Voltage is not varied to control loco speed. The polarity of the electricity on the rail does not control loco direction. DCC is able to communicate with each locomotive individually, allowing each to be given its own commands independent of the operation of other locomotives. It does not need the track to be divided into sections. A DCC system may give you more fun operating your trains because you'll have more time to watch the trains. With DCC, you don't toggle switches so you can watch the trains run instead of messing with a control panel full of toggle switches. Everyone is different, and it's important to select a system you personally enjoy operating. If you enjoy toggle switches, then stick with analog. Wiring is much easier with DCC. The larger, more complex layouts will still require a fair amount of wiring and will be complex. However, it should be far less complex and much easier than wiring the equivalent layout with an analog system. DCC provides a more accurate signal and is more open for expansion to future technologies. DCC is easier to upgrade. Opinions on DCC versus analog are mixed, but as I said, the trend is toward DCC operation. For many, it is the ability to run more than one train operation on the same track that is the big attraction of the new system. Apart from running multiple trains at once with start and stop functions using a remote control, there are added possibilities such as remote sound activation, even smoke if desired, braking, crossing guards, lights, etc. The possibilities are only limited by your wallet and perhaps your imagination. However, to counter that, some folks believe DCC operation is taking away what the hobby is all about, i.e., operating a train, changing the signals, and throwing the switches, etc. DC is perhaps more hands-on. Others claim DCC uses more power, can burn out non-DCC locomotors, and costs more to set up. But to counter that, you could argue, the system is much more flexible than the old power pack and block systems. Many in the hobby use both and reckon the costs are comparable when you sit down and work it out. As a rule, there are less but more expensive components with DCC, whereas analog systems generally require more but less costly components which can be purchased progressively over time. So whether you decide to use one system or the other, it is really your decision based on what you want your layout to be like. You'll probably be doing most of the train operation, so do what you personally prefer.
That by doing things the right way, you can avoid a lot of mistakes and frustration, and that will make the hobby so much more enjoyable. You can also get some good advice from those who've been in the hobby for years.